Thank you so much for tuning into the Woman to Woman podcast, a conversation for women like you, smart, successful, curious, and interested in being your best self. Join both Sarah and I as we discuss topics that women our age are actually interested in, with both of us being candid and often having differing views.
As coaches, we sprinkle in advice and tips, along with humor and vulnerability. We hope you feel like a fly on the wall with two friends. Let's entertain and inform you and welcome you into our friendship.
We appreciate you pressing play and spending some time with us, wherever you are in the world.
Let the magic happen.
In today's episode, Sarah and I are on holidays. It's just a happy coincidence that it happens to be at the exact same time. In this episode, I share my relationship with different cities in the world and where I feel most at home and why. While Sarah is talking about her deep need from a break from city life. This conversation also brings up the very important topic of self-discipline and how it's an important tool to use to avoid falling down into the laziness that the lockdown and the pandemic in general has brought into our lives. We hope you enjoy this episode.
Hey, Angela, there's something wrong with your background. I mean, not wrong, but definitely different. Where are you?
Okay, so, well, similar to you, So strangely, the same week we both decided to go away. So I am from Melbourne and I am in Sydney, and I actually used to live in Sydney for 6 years. So it's my second or third home. I have one other home too, which is Istanbul. And it's so interesting because I was thinking today, in my life, actually, again, similar to you, I have these three different homes: Melbourne, Sydney, Istanbul, where I've, lived at least 6 years in the other two. So that's a huge part of my life. That's half my life almost. And I was thinking today that these homes and these cities are like my children. And Melbourne is my very naughty child right now that I am having a very bad relationship with. And Istanbul has been a pretty naughty child in my life too. So Sydney is my golden child and my favorite, and really, very honestly, I'm someone who travels or traveled most of my adult life, and I haven't the last 2 years. And even though there was, a 6-month period where I could, and I did have some trips booked, but they all just got, slammed with the lockdown. I have not been on a plane for 18 months. And for me, that's a super long time. Actually longer than 18 months, to be honest, probably close to 2 years. And I needed to get away. So, I feel so good and so happy. I'm here alone. I have no agenda. And I can just revisit a younger me, when I used to live here. And
Nice.
good. Yeah, I have a lot to say, but why don't you fill us in on where you are?
All right. So now I am in Cherating in Malaysia. So it's the East Coast. It's like less than 3 hours drive from KL. So this is what is good in Malaysia, especially when you live in KL. So Kuala Lumpur, you have everything. It's the middle of the peninsula. So you have everything accessible within 3 or 4 hours of driving. You may have further up, well, not down, because down after that it's Singapore, but further up, a little bit longer roads to the Perhentian, which is very wild nature over there, and Langkawi as well, where you can still go by drive if you wish. But this is the good things. And this week I just decided to also go on my own. So I'm not fully on my own because one of my very good friends is with me. But the idea here was my husband left for France back in September 2021. for work. So he went Europe, not only France, but he went to Europe for work and visiting families and friends. And then with the quarantine, which was still on at that moment, it was my hands were full at that time, with three kids, driving them to school. At that time, one of them was still online classes, plus dealing with my full-time job and some of coaching as well. It was like my hands were very full. So when I came back, I say, you know what, that's going to be my turn. I'm going to take a week off. And it's actually just 5 days where, I just go to the beach, resource, take the energy because, I'm a healer and I really need that, to resource, to just get some resource, fresh resource, from recharging myself, and beach is so strong energy. So I'm here enjoying my time. It's raining today, but it's still lovely. Look at that. You don't even guess that it's raining, right? The sea is literally just down there. We don't see it with the lights, but it's amazing. Yesterday at night I could hear the waves because it was the high tide, and then I could hear the waves, and I was just like, oh my god, that's so nice. Even if in Kiel I have all these nice noise from the birds because we have lots of exotic birds. It was so good, and it's so good that actually Teddy, so my husband, and the kids are joining me Friday after school for the weekend because it's really like a short drive, so we can afford it doing this on the weekend. So it's good. So I'm gonna have 5 days recharging myself, literally, doing nothing else than just meditation, recording this beautiful podcast that I love so much, and meditation. Did I say meditation? Ah. So this is what I'm doing. So yes, definitely taking a break is just a gift. It's a gift after all this lockdown. So I have not been unfortunate like you. It's been only 11 months that I didn't take a flight because in December, for a lapse of 2 weeks, Malaysia did open the district, the interstate, and so I could fly to Langkawi actually, but it was just the time for the trip. We go, and then we came back, and it was locked down again anyway. So we've been very, very fortunate at that time. But yes, I admit it feels good. It really feels good to change, the surrounding. Really good. So tell me, because you were posting some things in Instagram that makes me, wondering. Is it wondering, right? Like the wonder, not the wonder. The wonder, right? Is it this desire of traveling? Even though I'm in travel as well, but taking the plane is a different energy, isn't it?
It is. It is. And it's actually funny. I have always been a really good flyer. And when I was younger, I was such a confident flyer that I literally used to watch Air Crash Investigation. It was one of my favorite shows. I used to watch it on the plane. And as I have gotten, I know,
Why?
tell me. I think I was just being a smart aleck. I'm like, hey, I fly all the time. No worries, who cares? And I'm not like that anymore. I actually get a little bit afraid of flying. And on my way here, the weather was quite bad coming into Sydney. So I actually feel like you. I am sweating up a storm here. It is so wet and humid, which is Sydney is always humid and warm, but it's not usually like this. So it's raining too, because of this, what is it, La Nina season?
Yes.
So the weather is crap everywhere, which is unfortunate because I'm in an Airbnb actually, and this is like the not very nice part of it. Sorry, guys, but I've got a beautiful pool and looking out to the harbour and the bridge and everything. Which I was planning on sort of what you're doing, just being next to the pool every day. I was up here, but that hasn't happened, which is fine. I'm having, I used to live here, so for me, just even being in the energy of, honestly, one of my homes and one of my favorite places in the world. I also got an Airbnb like legitimately on the same street I used to live in because, the eastern suburbs of Sydney, that's my area. I actually don't know the entire Greater Sydney very well. There's just a small part that I lived in and I stayed in, and that's my place. So that's where I am. And what was I saying? Oh, you asked me something.
You were saying that you get this nice place and traveling in Sydney where you feel
Oh
the
yeah, I think
energy.
aeroplane. Sorry, I was saying
Oh, okay,
about being
airplane.
an expert, and I've become a little bit of a frightened flyer. And coming into Sydney, the weather wasn't good, and I feel like their pilot wasn't good, and I was terrified coming in, and we had a really rough landing. That's okay. You know, it was my mum dropped me off at the airport actually, and she's like, "What are you going for?" And I'm like, "Well, you know, pre-COVID, I used to come here literally just to see my friends, sometimes to get my hair done. There's a favorite shop I have. Like, this is my second home. You know what I mean? So I'm not coming for any reason other than number one, to escape Melbourne, because as I said, it's a naughty child and it's really, we're not very friendly at the moment. And so I need a break. And I need to be out of that energy, because the energy, unfortunately, in my beloved Melbourne, which is like literally one of the best cities in the world, it's having a hard time right now. And the energy is not as good as it used to be. Like, it's the world's most livable. It is, honestly, the reason I came home is because I've been all over the world, and Melbourne is magical. We have everything. We have the highest quality of living, and apparently, you know, we can't deal with COVID, and it's yeah. Look, I'm not going to get into it, but I'm not happy with how it's been handled, and I needed to get out. But the second reason is too that I just want to get back on the horse of flying and going away. Like, I think another thing has been interesting with money. Like, travel is actually quite expensive, right? But when you are used to doing it, it's kind of like eating out. I haven't, you know, spent a lot of money lately because I've been locked up in home at home. So you kind of have to get used to the way of life that you were living. Do you know what I mean? So as I was saying to my mum flying up here, it's just about getting back on the horse and getting back into the lifestyle that I like. And, you know, dropping a few $1,000s for no reason just to go to Sydney. Like, you know, you have to kind of, like, it is a mindset thing. It's like everything, you know, with mindset, isn't it? Like, you get into one mindset and I want to reshift myself into the other one, because you can really relate it to eating out. You know what I mean? Like, once you get used to eating at home, and even if it's a similar, you know, amount of money or effort, it's a different mindset, you know, to go out, to be bothered, to get dressed up. It's a little bit like we were saying with friends, you know.
Yeah.
Last week, a friend of mine decided not to come to dinner because, hey, you know, I can just be in my pajamas and sit on my couch. So it's a mindset thing. And I'm trying to shift myself back into the mindset of traveling and doing it for not any particular reason, and just getting myself back on the horse of the life that I enjoy living.
Yes, you were telling me this last time that now your friends are so used to stay home and not really making the effort to go out because you've been in lockdown for such a long period. I think Melbourne, everyone in the earth heard about Melbourne situation. Of course, I'm not saying it was the worst. Probably everywhere was. We were all affected in a way or another. But yes, you were telling me this, that with this lockdown, people get used to now a new lifestyle, which is the everything you order online, everything is happening online. You don't even have connection, and you don't even want to make the efforts to do it, right? To go out, to dress up yourself, and then going out. And in one of the, how do you call it, the conspiracy scenario about lockdown, one was that we are using too much resources on the earth, and then they want us to slow this down, so that's why they lock us down to save a little bit of, you know, resources of the earth, because it does not regenerate the way as fast as we use it. And anyway, so that was one of the conspiracy. But the thing is that it really affected us. It really affected us. Those people, you know, who start getting into this mindset, you know, like, well, I can do everything from home, so let's just be home. Um, it reminds me, to be honest, it reminds me one of the episodes about the friendship that we did, you know. I gave up already in my life, even before lockdown. I gave up, you know, finding friends at some point until really, until things went completely off in my life. And I had no one to rely on because I never made the, I mean, I never, I decided to stop making the efforts, you know, to dress up and then go out and meet new people. And
And it is an effort. That's the thing.
it
Everything,
is.
I think what you realize from lockdown is everything is an effort. Do you know what I mean? Like I was wearing high heels is a good one for me. So, you know, and for me, I'm sort of at that lockdown has come at a really interesting age for me. You know, so I'm in my 40s now. So I just turned 40 at the beginning of lockdown. And, you know, you can kind of, I suppose, at this age, start to slow down a bit. What is happening? Um, you know, and I always travel with high heels, and I did that this time, but it's kind of like tiring. Do you know what I mean? Traveling is tiring in full stop, and then doing it, you know, in the style or manner that I want to is actually tiring. Like, of course, if I had stayed home in my UGG boots, it's a bit easier than getting on a plane, traveling, and doing it properly, and in high heels. Do you know what I mean? So I'm good because I'm someone who pushes myself, and I actually am more likely to go into depression from staying home and doing nothing than pushing myself and wearing high heels and, you know, walking all over the city, which is what I've been doing lately. You know, but it's an effort and it's a mindset shift. It's like anything. You have to want it and you have to realize what the benefits are, and you have to shift back into that way of thinking. And I guess I'm quite lucky that, you know, I was the person who had a restaurant booked on the first day of we get out of lockdown. I went straight to the gym. You know, I was highly affected by having my life locked down because I like to be out and I'm generally social. But it's an effort to get back into doing things in life. Absolutely.
And
It's harder to
this,
do than not.
yeah, exactly, exactly. This remind me, you know, that it's a discipline. And what we call discipline may be interpreted by people like a hard work. It does not have to be a hard work, but it's a discipline that we have in our life. And we used to have discipline like this before the lockdown, and lockdown killed these small things which were unconscious. We were doing unconsciously because it became a habit for us. Um, but now it's like, you know, just dressing up, please dress up. You know, don't stay in pajamas all day. Because this really, you think that it's an easy life and it's easy. But let me tell you my opinion. Take it or leave it. It's really up to you. But my opinion is that taking those easy steps, like staying in pajamas because you think it won't affect anything, it won't affect your life, it just made it easier, it's wrong. It's not making your life easier because it changed your mindset. So it creates this new synapses. Is it synapses? Yes. These two
Yeah, the connection.
signals and the connection. And it's creating this new stuff in your brain. And then after that, it becomes an effort. Exactly what we're just saying. And it's all about this today. It's about these things that we were thinking which was just normal, dressing up and going out, get your coffee outside. This is efforts. It seems to be like describing a normal life, but in fact, you know, lockdown may have killed that habit and that normal life that you used to have. Just because now, you know, well, I can order. So I just order, go to my front door, pick it up, and you have created new connection in your brain. And now you to untangle this, to delete this connection if you don't want it or if you don't like it, it's going to be another effort, which is going to be probably much harder than if you don't do it from the very beginning. So please dress up, go out, have a walk, or just go grab your coffee. For all my French listener, go and buy your baguette outside, you know, keep walking. I mean, my French friend and probably listener, they have not been affected like we used to be in Southeast Asia and the APAC region. literally, because it's much more stricter here. Europe, you have suffered differently, but you have not been locked down, like really literally locked down. You can't go away from a kilometer from your house and having, police everywhere at each corner asking you, what are you doing? It has been completely different for us. This was our life. Um, and literally locked down. Yes, every places was shut down. Nothing was open. Only grocery stores and pharmacy were open. So anyway, so please, yes, build the discipline. It's the discipline, and it's not because discipline seems to be very martial art oriented. Like you need to train and then do this and repetitively. Seems to be a hard work. It does not have. I mean, as long as you're putting fun on it, then it gets easier. So, yes, that's what I wanted to say.
Well, the reason it gets easier is because what I've noticed is that, say pre-COVID, we had all of these behaviors. And for me, one of them was just getting out of the city, I'd say every 3 months to every 6 months. And that was an unconscious habit. That was how I wanted to live my life. And now that I'm an adult, I see my poor son, he's 11 now, and, he just wants to all that adult freedom. So as soon as I was an adult, that was like, that's the life I want to live. And so that's the life I have lived. That was unconscious in me. That was a belief, and that was an unconscious pattern. And what lockdown has done is it has forced us. And the good thing about this is it shows you that you can change. And it forced us into a different set of patterns. So now you have to consciously, which means with effort, get yourself back to your pre-habit. And so the reason that it will be a little bit hard at the beginning and get easier is it will come back to being an unconscious habit. But right now you have to make the conscious, self-disciplined choice and there are a lot of people, who are reevaluating their lives, and they're like, I don't want to hang out with people I don't like. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to have barbecues with my kids' friends who I don't want to spend time with them. And I do think, a lot of people had a lot of habits they could change. And now is a great time, to embed that, into their lives, the changes that have come. But at the same time, yeah, there's a lot that we need to get back. And it's interesting that you talk about self-discipline, because in my own coaching practice, I am creating how there's a life cycle wheel on,
Yes.
just in general in coaching. I'm creating a self-love one with the different pieces of, which will end up being a huge program for me, the different pieces of self-love and self-confidence and how you actually get there, and so you can see what's missing. And self-discipline is one of them. And it's one that has, as you said, a bit of a negative connotation in our life. But self-discipline is a very important building block for you to have confidence and self-belief, and build your esteem. And
Completely agree.
it is actually something that you can rely on much more than motivation. So self-discipline is absolutely nothing to be afraid of. It actually helps to automate and routine the life that you want to have. You know what I mean? And it is really foundational.
I totally agree. So if you wonder what am I drinking, for those who are watching us on YouTube, uh, it's my mango juice, because the place where we are, they are giving us fresh juice in the morning at breakfast, and so that's my fresh juice,
Love
mango
mango.
juice.
I
Yes,
love
that's good. That's brilliant. I mean, we're
like
lucky.
a mango smoothie. I don't. What's
Uh,
mango juice? I don't know. We
oh
don't
no,
do.
it's just a mango blended. I think you put a
Yeah.
little bit of milk though. I think I saw it put a little bit of milk. I don't do dairy product normally, but it's okay.
Oh.
I mean, I'm not allergic to it, so it's fine.
Why
It,
don't
it,
you do dairy? Because it can be inflammatory. Is that why?
okay, so dairy definitely is inflammatory. Dairy definitely will be, if you allow me, another episode, because it's related to my son's severe skin issues that he had at the age of 2, and it took me 1 year to really get it you know, heal with all the natural therapy. I have tried. I'm going to talk about this in another episode because it's a precious story with a lots of tips, and especially for those who have kids, and also a huge learning for myself. So allow me to introduce this story in the next episode.
Okay. Fantastic. Well, is there anything else you wanted to say, or do you think we
I think we're
have?
good for this self discipline and joy traveling in high heels. Okay, I'm at the beach. I did not bring my high heels.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just me, and I did it, but my legs were hurting. Had to put them up the wall last night, so not easy. But I'm not ready to be an old person yet, so just keep wearing them.
All right, so enjoy your day, everyone, and thank you again for listening to Woman podcast.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode. We hope you enjoyed it, and every time you listen, we truly appreciate it. And if you would like to follow me or learn more about my work or get in contact with me, please go to my website, which is angelajanecoaching.com.
And if you want to know more about my work, you can go on sarahmeng.com. All the details are going to be listed in a comment below. You can also follow us on social media, Instagram or Facebook, where we are sharing our daily tips.
Bye.
Hope to see you soon.